everyone. Welcome to Morning Motivation. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I pray that you all are doing well. I pray that you all have had a blessed week so far. This morning, I just want to get straight to it. This morning, we are talking about rest. And rest is so important in our lives. Hey, Pastor Victoria, good morning. How are you doing? This morning, we're talking about rest. And so first, we're going to look at what the scripture says about rest. Rest, we see in Genesis 2nd, it said in Genesis 2, it says, by the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all his work. Also in Hebrews 4, we see there remains then a Sabbath rest for the people of God. For everyone who enters God's rest also rest from their work, just as God did from his. Let us therefore make every effort to enter that rest so that no one will perish by following their example of disobedience. Hey, Kathy, how you doing? Good morning. So we're talking about rest today. And first and foremost, we want to talk about why it's important for us to rest. And the reason I'm bringing up rest is because we just went through a big, heavy lift here in our household with my wife and I as we produced this play that we just came off of. And so now we have to rest and recover. And so a couple reasons why rest is important. First reason is that it restores your body. You know that your body will begin to talk to you because you're pushing. And then all of a sudden what happens is you start to slow down, you start to break down, you start to feel different and not perform the way that you should. And so it's important to rest because you need to recover from that physical exertion that you put on your body, that strain. If you keep putting a strain on your body long enough, you are going to have, you're going to have health issues. You're going to have, you got mental issues, you got physical issues. So it's important for you to rest so that you restore your body. The second thing is that you want to prevent injury. So my wife and I, we were doing a lot of lifting and carrying. We moved our set so many different times. And the reason for rest is so that we prevent injury. There are some times where we were physically, one thing that we said as we were going through this process is that when we were physically tired or even mentally tired, we were not going to go out and handle any power tools. So if we were tired and we had to push through, we would do something else so that we wouldn't that we would prevent any potential injuries by working with power tools while we were tired. Also, the why for getting rest is that rest will affect your performance. When you're tired, when you're sluggish, you're going to slow down. You're not as sharp mentally, physically, spiritually. So rest is going to help with your performance. When you it's like this, when you go to bed tired at night, but when you wake up in the morning, you are so refreshed and you're able to perform at a different level just by getting a good night's sleep. Often, many of us have been up late and we're trying to get a project done or get something done, and our performance is affected. I know for me, there's a certain time that I cannot send any emails. I cannot send any emails or post anything important after 10 o'clock because I'm tired, I'm slowing down, and it affects my performance. What it usually does is it leads to misspelled words and things like that. So rest is going to affect your performance. Also, rest is going to strengthen your immune system because when you are pushing, you're tired and your body needs time to recover. And so the note I have here is a study involving 150 people They sleep 7 hours and less than 7 hours a day. Participants who sleep less than 7 hours are more susceptible to diseases. So this is very important that you get the proper rest each night, and so that your immune system will be built up. All right, so now let's talk a little bit more about rest and what it's going to do for you. It's going to sharpen your brain functions. Once again, there are times when you're up late at night, you are, whatever you're preparing for the next day. You're Pastor Victoria, you're preparing for a sermon. You're grading papers. For Kathy, my sister, you could be up thinking about tomorrow, what's getting everything in line. You're dealing with clients, you're dealing with patients. What's the best medication? What's the best treatment for them? And so you're tired, and at night your brain is not as sharp as it should be, and that you want it to be. But by getting some proper rest, waking up in the morning, sometimes you just got to put things away. What I normally do is I will, you all have heard me mention this before. What I will do is what I will do is write things down on an index card. So late at night, if there's something that I need to do in the morning, I'll put it on an index card so I'm ready, so I'm fresh, so my brain is ready and is sharp in the morning to tackle it, because I know at night I'm not rested, and things can not get done the way they should get done. Also, rest is going to put you in a better mood. I know my wife and I, perfect example was this. Saturday night, we both typically with my wife and I, it's like when she's tired, I'm usually fresh, and when I'm tired, she's fresh. So, and we do this kind of on purpose. It's like it's kind of like a flow, so that I know when I'm tired that she can pick up the slack, and when she's tired that I can pick up the slack. On Saturday night, we got home at probably about 12:30, 1 o'clock from our event. And what happened is, this is weird, for the first time ever, we were both just so tired and so exhausted. And we both recognized it, and we were kind of, our moods were, we were in high spirits because of what had just happened, but because we were so physically and mentally drained at the end, our moods weren't the greatest, but we were mindful of each other, and knowing that we were tired, and so watchful, snapping at each other and things like that. But being tired mentally and physically, it's going to affect your mood. And so when you get rest, you're going to be in a better mood. It's like you go to bed cranky, but you wake up refreshed and in that better mood. Now, let's talk about types of rest. So the first type is physical rest. Physical rest is just simply laying down, going to sleep, or even if you're not able to go to sleep, like in the middle of the day, sometimes that you think that you just need to go to sleep, or you need to take a nap or something like that. But if you have an option of rather than being on your feet all the time, and you can sit down, then take that option, because that little bit of physical rest is going to help you. Like we talked about earlier, it's going to put you in a better mood. It's going to make you more aware, more alert. Yes, Pastor Victoria, exactly. Sunday afternoon for you all, I can totally understand. You have just been through service, which is draining, and draining physically, because you're on your feet, you're up there standing, you're leading in worship, and then also when you have your children's ministry in the afternoon, then Sunday you just want to come home and get a rest. What I encourage you to do, I'm sure you all do this already, is, in between sessions, if you don't have to be on your feet, just take a break, sit down for a few moments, just to recover, just to relax, just to rest your body from what you have just gone through. Next type of rest is mental rest. You know what? Sometimes you can be so mentally tired because you're up studying for something. You have a presentation to give at work, or you're preparing for a sermon, you're preparing for a lesson, and you just get so mentally drained. And so it's important that you take that mental rest as well, where you just unplug. I know for me, what we do for what I do for mental rest, my wife as well, what my wife does for mental rest is she just goes and watches some videos on YouTube that are just relaxing, some hair videos, things that are not stressful. For me, what I do at the end of the day before I go to sleep, I watch something that's kind of like mindless television. I'll watch like The Big Bang Theory or something like that, something that's just so relaxing that gets me a mental break from the world, from the projects that I'm doing. So that mental rest is very important, because if you keep pushing and pushing and pushing mentally, then things are going to slow down and you're not going to be as sharp as you are. The next type of rest is social rest. And this can occur when you're at social events, you're at gatherings. We all want to socialize. We want to talk to our friends. We want to enjoy life, but sometimes we get out there and we have to take a social rest. I know for me that at the end of a social engagement, it's draining because I want to talk to everybody. And at the end, I'm kind of tired mentally. I'm tired of talking. I come home, I just want to be quiet and sit and rest. And I know it affects people different fashion. For introverts, it's one type of rest. For extroverts, it's another type of rest. And so social rest is something that is real. And so when you're out there, when you're talking, when you're around people and you're having those conversations, just remember to rest, because you can't keep going and going and going. So social rest is important. Now, spiritual rest. I'm going to read this and let's see how it sounds. Spiritual rest needs vary based on someone's own belief system. So we're going here with I'm going to approach it from a Christian aspect. And spiritual rest could look like this, where you are in a state of, how can I put it here? Spiritual rest. I'm going to address it like this. When you are, this got the perfect example. Okay. We talk about, I'm looking for the word. It is not spiritual rest. Okay. When I was in Germany, burnout. There we go. Burnout. That's the word I'm looking for. Sorry about that. Burnout. Okay. So spiritual rest. Here's an example. When I was in Germany, I was doing so much for our church. We were on base, and there was so much that I was doing, so much that they were asking me to do. And I got to a point where I was getting burnt out. Yes, I'm working for God. Yes, I am doing what God has called me to do. But I got to a point where I was burnt out. And that's what I will equate here to this spiritual rest, where I was just going and going and going for God so very hard. And a couple things that were happening here, a couple things were that I would say that one, that when you're going hard, even though you're at church and you say, I'm working for God, you need to make sure that you are being filled up. And filled up can come in a couple fashions. It could come in that rest, but also being mindful that you are prayed up. Also being mindful that you are receiving from God, because often what will happen is a quick example will be this, is that we go to church on Sunday, we get filled. But then, so our tank is filled and on high. And then we go through life on Monday and Tuesday, and we're not reading our Bible. We're not in prayer. And so our tank starts to drain a little bit as we're pouring into others. So our tank begins to drain a little bit. So by like Tuesday or Wednesday, Wednesday, it's time to go by the spiritual gas station and get filled back up again. But we skip it. Life is busy. We don't make it to Bible study. We miss our prayer because we woke up late or something like that. So our tank starts to get lower and lower. And then Thursday comes around and just life happens and we get lower and lower. And so what happens is our spiritual tank gets low. So we have to remember that we have to be refilled. We have to be rejuvenated. Each and every day we need to go to God so that he can fill us back up, because we need that. Or else it will lead to burnout. And I know in my situation, what was happening is that I was not going to God enough to be filled for what he was calling me to do. And it might sound weird. It's like, yes, I'm walking in God's perfect will and I'm doing. However, I was not being replenished like I should have been. And so I was not praying as much as I should have, not talking to God as much. I was not in the word as much. And I thought I was just doing God's work, but there wasn't a balance there. So you need to have a balance. Even though you think, yes, I'm working for the Lord, there's a balance there, and you have to make sure that you are being filled up by God. Amen. All right, so that's spiritual rest. So let's see, what do we got? Emotional rest. Sometimes we get on emotional highs, emotional lows, and on those emotional highs, we need a rest from those things. Those things could be like, say, for example, something traumatic happens in your life and you go through this emotional high where you have all these emotions. Well, you need a rest from that. Take a break. You need to unplug from things and pull back for a little bit. Take time for yourself and rest. So let me start to wrap this up. So we're talking about rest today and the importance of rest, and so many different fashions that we need to restore our bodies. We need to prevent injury. We need to Rest is going to affect our performance. That's very key right there. And most importantly, that is going to prevent injury. So make sure that you're getting rest. Make sure you're getting mental rest, spiritual rest, and physical rest, because we do not want anyone to get hurt in any fashion. And then finally, it is going to strengthen your immune system. So once again, I pray that you all are well. Thank you so much for watching. And remember to make sure that you get rest. That way you are prepared for what God is calling you to do in your life. Once again, to my sister Kathy, thank you for watching. Pastor Victoria, thank you for watching. I pray that you all have a blessed day. Take care. Talk to you soon. God bless.